What is going on, guys? It is Hazmat Trucker for another video, and I got stuck at the loading rack waiting for some premium allocation. I tried to pull a load before midnight here and before the inventory shut down at this refinery that I'm at, but unfortunately, they do not have, or they didn't have any premium on the account that we use here, and I am stuck here till midnight. So might as well do something productive for the hour that I'm here. So here's another video. But today I just wanted to talk about family companies not always treating you like families. And so what do I mean by that? Because I've heard before, oh, you don't want to work for a large company because, you're just a number to them, and you want to work for somebody that is much smaller, like a company that's just based in a city or two, or even just a regional company versus some companies that are based nationwide, just like Love's. Because at the smaller companies, they treat you like family, especially if they're privately owned. And I always thought that was true until I got into my first fuel hauling job. And for those of you who don't know, I started out in fuel about 2.5 years ago now. So beginning of 2023, got my start in fuel when I first moved to Wyoming. And this company that I had started with, they were very friendly towards people who didn't have fuel experience, which was great for me, and in a way I am thankful for them for giving me the shot, giving me the chance to prove myself within fuel hauling, and allowing me to get the experience necessary to get all of my loading cards at all the loading facilities, all the refineries, all the pipelines that we use to pull fuel out of and gas out of as well, for the 3 different companies that I worked for. This smaller family company, Pilot as well, and then obviously now Love's, or Gemini Motor Transport. But that being said, so they gave me a shot. I was in training for about 2 or 3 weeks with them, and great trainer, taught me a lot, and I learned pretty quickly, just every aspect of the job. I was very thoroughly trained there. However, I got my first paycheck, and at this company I was paid every 2 weeks. So not a big deal, so long as you budget properly, obviously. But at this company I was paid every 2 weeks, and when I got my first paycheck, I noticed something was kind of off, and somebody had told me. And for anyone who's doing load pay, please take this advice as well, because somebody who I was doing, I think it was actually my trainer at the time at this company, he told me, write down every single thing that you do. If you're on load pay, you have to write down every single thing that you do, no matter what company you work for, because it is, unless you want to work for free, you need a record of everything that you did, so that you can get paid if they short your paycheck. And so I took that to heart. I started writing down all of my loads every single day, and how many hours I was delayed at the rack, whatnot. So on that first paycheck, something was missing, and it was small. It was like $25. It wasn't significant, but I was like, I mean, that's odd, but it can happen. As the saying goes, once is a mistake. And but then I would soon find out, as the saying continues to go, once is a mistake, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a trend. So as time went on, I got more experience. I was let go from training, and I was let go to be on my own. And I started noticing each paycheck there was bigger and bigger increments of my check missing. And I would bring it up to the company, and I'd say, hey, I'd call my boss, say, hey, I am missing this much from my paycheck because I did this work that is not on my paycheck, and this needs to be fixed. And they would always address it, or at least my boss at the time would always address it. Oh, okay, we'll get that fixed. Sorry about that. And it would take then another 2 weeks, because you only get paid every 2 weeks, to get that actually fixed. So you wouldn't see, if you were, supposed to be paid on the 15th for some work you did on the 10th or whatever, you wouldn't see that until the 30th. So it was actually, no, it was generally speaking a month after the fact, because by the time they addressed it, generally speaking, it had been about a month since you had done the work. And so going forward from there, not a single, except for one, there was one paycheck from this company that I was actually paid everything that I was owed. Every single paycheck after that was anywhere from $50 short to, I think my last paycheck at the company was about $300 short. And at that point, it didn't really matter, because there was other issues that came up, and specifically, I ran balls to the walls, as the saying goes, and I busted my butt. I was working at least a 65-hour, 70-hour week, pretty much every week at that company, and just to see what kind of money I could make. And at that specific company, I was only able to manage $26 an hour, was about the best I could get, and that obviously doesn't include overtime. So I think my best paycheck, or my best month there, was about $6,000, something like that, after taxes. Even before taxes, I think it was still only about $7,000, and that was putting in 70-hour weeks every single week, or close enough, right? So that was already an issue with not getting paid for everything, and then constantly having to fight them on that. But then on top of that, 3 or 4 months went by, and I talked to my boss and said, hey, my work ethic, I bust my butt. And he said, yeah, you do. You're a really great asset to this company. I was like, okay. So that being said, I've noticed the last 3 months, I've only been able to manage $26 an hour, when the market average, as I'm talking to the guys at the rack, is pretty much $30 an hour, and they're also getting overtime on top of that. Would it be possible for me to actually get matched to that $30 an hour, to match myself to the market rate? And he said, yeah, we can do that. I don't have any issues doing that. You've been a great worker, and that's not a big ask. So yeah, we can do that. Little did I know that was a straight out lie. That never happened for the next however many months it was that I worked there. I think it was about a month or two that I had worked there. Past that conversation never happened, and obviously continuing on with the issues for not getting paid for every single delivery that I did, or missing hours and hours and hours of demurrage pay or delays at the racks that I had. That was always consistently an issue as well. And so fortunately for me, though, at that time, about a month or two later, the opening at Pilot came, and I applied. I got the job, and I said deuces, because I don't like being lied to. I don't like having to fight a company to just to get the wages that I actually earned for them and for myself as well. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, because I have seen that. And I'm not saying, as a disclaimer, I'm not saying every company, every smaller or family-owned company is like that. Love's is a family-owned company. I have had nothing but a very great experience at Love's thus far. And even when they were on load pay, the drivers that I've talked to who were here when they were still on load pay, yeah, they would make some mistakes here and there, but they wouldn't haggle you over getting that back as far as fixing that on your next paycheck. They would just do it. There wasn't any, and it wasn't even a consistent thing either. It was just here or there. They might miss something. And so that being said, again, obviously not every family-owned company is going to treat you poorly, but that was my experience with my first fuel hauling company. And again, I wouldn't rest too heavily on the fact that your company is family owned, because at the end of the day, the family owned aspect doesn't mean a whole lot unless they actually treat you like family. And I think that's the whole sell of working at a family-owned company, right? Is that, oh, you're part of the family, or at least that's the way that they like to market it as, at least in my experience. But as that experience showed for me personally, it didn't work out like that. But again, doesn't mean like it's that way for every single company or every single person that works at a family-owned company. I just wanted to kind of push back on that, because we like to throw out generalities, and we like to treat them as universals and general statements like, oh, you want to work for a family-owned company, and treat it as the universal that you're never going to get screwed over at a family-owned company. I can definitively say that is not the case. So just do your research. Be very careful on who you actually get a job with, and if they don't treat you well, if you have a better opportunity that you can go to, and they're not going to lie to you, that next company is not going to lie to you from all that you can tell, I'd say go for it. So that's it for today, guys. I just wanted to throw that out there and just kind of buck the trend, as it were, of that saying that I've heard so much throughout my trucking career. But hope you guys are doing well. God bless.